Welcome to Pivot Parenting, where we help parents of teens overcome regret and disappointment to find peace and connection in every situation. I'm Heather Frazier, your parenting expert. Journey with me to discover effective parenting tips, improve family relationships, and build a brighter future for your kids. Buckle up, things are about to get better. Hello, my friend. Welcome to today's episode of Pivot Parenting. It is a juicy topic to behold. Most parents that I talk to are some version of worried, anxious, nail-biting about their kids, who they're hanging out with, the classes and grades that might be affecting their future, how much sleep they're getting, what they are or are not eating, how much time they spend in their room in the dark with their AirPods in. So much worry. And because it is the end of a year and the beginning of a new year, I know that is additional worry. Has your kid filled out their college application? How they do on the ACT? Are they going to have to take it again? What does the next year hold? I'm going to break this down for you in two simple ways. And I do this for your benefit and for your child's benefit. I'm going to break it down into when you're worrying for someone. That's the expected perspective, parents worrying about their kids. And when you're worried at the perspective of your child, who you're worrying all over. And I promise you, they can feel it. So let's start with worrying for your child. Basically, we have any given circumstance. You can plug in one that I have just named, but I'm guessing you came up with your own as I was listing some options off. So maybe it's their graduation, maybe it's who they're dating, maybe it's that they don't leave their room often enough, or that they're never home. I want you to consider what you're worrying about. Is it substances? Is it school? Is it a friendship or relationship? Then, if you'll humor me, take a moment and write down all of your thoughts and feelings around this circumstance. Now, if I were to distill down the bulk of what I hear, it would all come to some sense of their future being in peril. They're going to get knocked up. They're going to become addicts. They're not going to graduate. Their future is essentially in peril, which causes us to worry, which then takes us to how we behave. Most parents are either going to double down, try to micromanage, get angry, try to fix things for their child. Let me email the school. Let me make this friend feel less welcome or this other friend feel more welcome. Let me hound you to get home so that you're in bed in time. Let me bug you over and over and over that you need to practice or study even harder than you are. And then giving up. Fine, whatever. It's your life. Do whatever you want. I don't care. Ruin your life. That's what that sounds like. Or just silence. And this is because parents are trying to calibrate finding peace of mind between controlling the situation, whether that's getting angry with your teen or running wild and bending yourself into pretzels trying to fix their problem or get them to fix their problem, realizing that doesn't work. In fact, it makes things worse, and then throwing their arms up in exasperation. And that can give some sense of relief until that also does not sustain long term, in which we go back to the yelling and the meddling and the upsetting. And essentially, what we have is a self-fulfilling prophecy, because this parent who is so worried about their child's future not being what they expect sabotages themselves in helping their child obtain that future, which makes it less likely for everyone to find peace, joy, happiness, contentment in the future. Can you see how this is a vicious cycle? Now, there's a lot of reasons and nuance as to why parents do this. And I'll get into a little bit of it here, but this is something that I dive deep with my clients because it is pretty much a constant theme. 3 main reasons, certainly not the only 3, ranging from the most honest and innocent to nefarious, would be wanting to protect our child. We're projecting perhaps from our teen experience or what we're hearing on the news or from friends, and we want to protect our kids from bad experiences. We want to keep them safe, we want to keep them happy, and we want to keep their future bright. And socially, we have been instructed how this is to happen. They need to graduate high school. They need to then serve a mission, go to college, do something official with their life. Then at some point, they need to get married, get a job, have children, buy a house on the same street as us, potentially, because that would be delightful. We have a prescribed ideal, and we project that upon our child that we have co-created with our spouse and with society. Now, this is fine 9 times out of 10 because most kids will do this, but not every kid does this. And certainly not every kid does it exactly how their parent pictures it. That is not super common. Most teenagers are going to do things slightly different than we would prefer. Another reason is that we want to uphold expectations or values. I live in a highly Christian area, and so things around intimacy and who our kids are dating are kind of a big deal. This can also go in a non-theological way of expectations. Like you expect your kid to not cheat in school, or you expect them to go to college and strive to be their best self. And when our kids aren't completely lining with our values or expectations, that can be really worrisome. And then the most harmful way that parents can worry about their kids is if we're trying to control the appearance of the family image. It can sound pretty, like honoring the family name, but it's really just, I don't want to be negatively perceived by my parents. I don't want my parents to see that you got a tattoo. I don't want the neighbors to see you coming home at 3 a.m. or your boyfriend leaving at 5 a.m. Some might argue that upholding the family name is a good thing. And in certain instances, yes, it is. But when we're asking our children to put up a false front, it is not necessarily helpful or good. These are the most common reasons why we worry about our kids. Now, let's flip this around and take it from the perspective of our teenager. Hi there. I just want to pause and let you know if you are struggling to make sense of your teen's behaviors, emotions are running wild, and you're looking to turn things around to have the family you dreamed of while rocking them to sleep, I would love to talk to you. I want to give you a special, powerful gift. 30 minutes with me, my friend. You'll walk away with more confidence, clarity, and understanding of what the issue is and your next best step in resolving any situation you bring to me. It's completely free. I love families and want to help yours be wildly happy and successful. Book this call by visiting my website, heatherfraser.com. Remember, Fraser is spelled with a Z-I in the middle. And don't worry, the link is also in the show notes. I look forward to meeting and helping you. All right, let's take the flip side of what it feels like to be worried all over. Let's imagine that you're the teenager, and maybe this will be easy to do if somebody has worried on you lately, or if you had hovering parents that were always anxious about your future. But let's say the parent says, I'm concerned that you have 10 missing assignments. I'm concerned that you don't come to church with us happily. I'm concerned that you seem grumpy about this. I'm concerned that you're always in your room. I'm worried about the person that you're dating. Something is said. Now, it can go a few different ways here. If the teenager is really confident, it could potentially be brushed off. But depending on how sensitive the topic is, how close to this teen's heart or sense of self that you're hitting, you're going to have a spectrum of responses, anywhere from whatever and just being dismissed and the teenager doesn't give a second thought, to really being affected by the comment. So looking at that other end, teenagers can have lots of thoughts and feelings about this. They can feel judged. They can feel rejected. They can feel micromanaged. They can feel smothered. They can feel all kinds of things because they dislike how the parent is coming across. Now, we can't control how other people take our words. So we need to be as mindful as we can when we speak them, because that's the part that we do have control over. But teenagers, their brains are hardwired to assume everybody is coming after them, and not in a good way, because their amygdala is going through massive growth spurts. And so that fight, flight, freeze response is really dialed up. And so when we make comments like, hey, is that skirt a little bit too short? Or what have you been doing? And like assuming you should be studying or practicing or whatever, and you're not. Why haven't you done your dishes yet? All of these different things where we're wanting to help teach them something. We're wanting them to help accomplish their goals. And they just see it as nagging. They will avoid us if this is how they're perceiving us. If they think that we are judging them, even though we might think we're trying to help them, if they think that we are nagging them, they will throw it back in our face and fight back. They will avoid us. They will tell us what we want to hear to our face and then do whatever they want to do behind our back, which weakens the relationship, because then inevitably we find out that they were lying to us, or they yell back at us, or we are really hurt that they're always avoiding us. So then we bite back at them. And it's this back and forth that spirals into a less connected, less loving, less communicative and helpful relationship for both parties. So worrying all over somebody really isn't helpful. What we want to do instead is a two-part process, and it leads to a stronger connection, calmer communication, which means better communication, and deeper trust on both sides. So the first step is we need to calibrate our nervous system. We need to question our expectations. We need to see what is real and accept reality. An example of this would be, I have a son, and when he was in high school, his senior year, he was doing great in school, and he would probably go to his classes one time a week. And he and I had an agreement that if he was getting good grades, he could dictate what classes he went to and when. And I had to really work hard to honor that commitment, because he got excellent grades and he hardly ever went to class. And what I learned when I could let the expectation go that kids have to go to class in order to do well, we actually had lots of fun together. We would go to lunch, we would sit and visit. It was like I had this little bestie almost all day, every day, and we could hang out when he wasn't working or doing other things. And it was actually really fun. Now, you might be saying, oh, that sure is nice because your son did well in school, but my daughter won't even leave her room and she's flunking all of her classes and she might not graduate. Again, that is just an added layer of expectation that we can let go of because worrying over your child is less helpful. And when we can calibrate our nervous system, and what I mean by that is soothe that anxious, worried, I'm going to worry vomit all over my child. To understand this, we need to look at me problems versus you problems, is how I like to think of it, like two sides of the street. We can keep our side of the street clean and pristine, but we can't shout on the other side of like, hey, you need to clean up your side of the street, and I'm going to come over and show you how to do it and help you. Some kids like that, and some kids do not, and they will intentionally mess up their side of the street because you insist it be clean. We all know these kids. So we need to figure out what is mine to worry about and what is theirs to worry about. We can do that by questioning our expectations of them. And we can do that by accepting the reality that as our child gets older, the less we can do for them and the more they have to learn how to do for themselves. And so if your child may not graduate because they refuse to get up and go to school and they're not getting good grades, calibrating your nervous system is showing yourself that when I freak out, it makes the problem worse, so I need to do something different. And how can I calm myself with this situation so that I can more lovingly connect with my child? There's so many different ways to do this, and I work on so many different ways with my clients that meet them where they're at. One of my favorites is to go down the rabbit hole. Okay, so they don't graduate. Why is that a problem? And my client looks at me like I'm crazy. And like, seriously, why is it a problem if they don't graduate? Are you going to love them less? Well, because they're not going to get a job and they're going to stay in the basement. And okay, so why is that a problem? And you just keep going down why everything is a problem. And it all comes down to expectations and parents feeling like they have failed their child. And so when we can let go of that, then we can actually make it about the child. And instead of nagging them to get their butt up and out of bed and go to school, we can go sit by them. And we can say, tell me what's hard. Tell me how this system doesn't work for you. Tell me what you're feeling and how I can support you. And that is only available when we have calmed down. And when we have done the work to calibrate our nervous system so that we aren't in fix-it mode or angry mode. The second step is we have to allow space for people to be worried. The second step is to consider that maybe worst case scenario isn't that likely. Nothing ever goes as planned, even with the best laid plans, like a family vacation. You plan it out, or Christmas morning, you know exactly how it's going to go. It never goes exactly like that. Same with worst case scenario. We can anticipate that our child is going to be doomed if they don't graduate, and maybe it actually will be okay. It will just look different than what we expect. And so to step into unconditional love, of loving our child and loving ourselves, so that we can mentor, guide, and love them, because this is what is going to win the best possible relationship that they're willing to have with us. And that is the point of impact. Nobody likes being nagged. Nobody likes feeling judged or rejected because they're doing it different than desired. So we really have to make space for having faith in that person of maybe they want the same thing that I do and they're going about it in a different way. And maybe the way I think it should look is just an opinion. And their opinion of how to do it is perhaps more valuable because it is in fact their life. Now let's talk about if somebody is worrying all over us, the teenager's perspective. It is really important for people to make space for those who are worrying about them. And this takes a lot of confidence to not take things personally, not feeling judged, not feeling rejected. And this can vary throughout the day. Kids might be more resilient in the morning and feel worse at night or when they're hungry or on certain points of their cycle or how much sleep they have gotten. But ultimately, if you feel like people are worrying on you, maybe it's vicarious worrying. Maybe your mom or dad is really worried about your teen for you. We can allow their perspective to be their choice. It is okay, and we can have understanding and grace that we know how it feels to be worried about someone and that it feels awful and helpless. And so while we can have boundaries with that person, saying, I'm sorry, you don't get to talk to my kid like that or to me like that, and I'm going to have to end the phone call now, we can still love the people who frame their judgment as love and concern. And it's okay. And to allow them to have their feelings because you can't talk them out of it. But you can also protect your peace and you don't have to internalize their beliefs. Even if people are worrying about your kids for you, or if your parents are worried about you, unconditional love and boundaries are the two-step process to be on the receiving side of worry. And those might seem incongruent, but they are actually really important because they support one another. It is really hard to unconditionally love someone that you let stomp all over you because it hurts. And unconditional love does not mean no boundaries, because unconditional love also means that you love yourself and your peace, and you love them enough to hold them accountable for their choices. And that comes with results that they may or may not like you end conversations. It's important to embrace the fact, because it simply exists, that worry is part of the human experience, that we will worry for others, and that others will worry for us and for our children, that we can mitigate this through emotional intelligence and resilience and try and diminish how often we're doing this so that we can yield better results, but understanding that the human brain will always want to worry. And so we can give grace to others and to ourselves when this does crop up, with confidence that we have the tools to recognize it and to flip it around so that we can have stronger relationships. I hope you've gotten a lot from this episode. Please share it with friends and family if it resonates with you and you think could be helpful for others. As always, I love reviews on Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, wherever you're listening. Reviews help this show up higher on the search, which means other parents will more readily find it and benefit from it. If you have 30 seconds, Share your thoughts, what you've learned, share episodes with friends and family, whatever you're most comfortable with. It's all appreciated. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year. I love December and I hope you're having a great month. If not, please reach out. Next year can be better. I promise. Even if it's good right now, we can still make it better. And we'll talk next week.